You're the resurrection that we've waited for. You buried the night, came with the morning. You're the King of heaven, the praise is yours. The longer the quiet, the louder the chorus.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the American Campfire Revival, night 88, I believe. It's either 88 or 89. But I'm so happy you can join me, because tonight we're actually going to be continuing a little bit off of what we were talking about last night. And it's actually really cool because I found this song like literally seconds after I finished yesterday's video. So what I want you to do is we're going to take a moment and kind of listen to this song for a little bit. But it literally talks about tending like a garden. But
the sun that's shining, you restore my soul. The deeper you call us, oh, the deeper we'll go. We will sing a new song. Dead is dead and gone with the winter. We will sing a new song. And hallelujahs flow like a river. We're coming back to life, reaching towards the light. Your love is like springtime.
I think this is the part that stood out to me, that told me this is the song that I needed to play for tonight.
Come tend the soil. Come tend the soil of my soul.
Tend the soil
like a garden
of my soul, and like a garden.
And like a garden I will grow.
And I will grow.
I will grow. Come tend the soil. Come tend the soil of my soul. And like a garden, and like a garden I will grow. I will grow. I will grow. I will grow. We'll sing a new song. Steady, steady.
Alright, so, like,
We'll sing a new song.
that song is like the perfect song for what we talked about yesterday. How God is the gardener, and yes, He can plant, or we can grow, but we cannot tend our own beds. We cannot garden. Excuse me for a second. We cannot garden our own garden. We have to have something that is clean and is knowing and knows what to do, so that way it can clean the garden, so that way we can be clean, so that way we can be grow. There has to be something that can remove the weeds in preparation for us to grow. And you better be happy you joined tonight. You are here for a reason. This poem I wrote later last night is called Preparing the Soil. My child, like a seed that I've created to be planted in a garden, I've planted my word within you. Allow me to tend to your needs, to tend to your soul, that it may grow, and that you may grow closer to me. It may seem like a time of discouragement as I remove what is surrounding you. But my child, do not be dismayed. I do this not to harm you, but I am tending to the soil and removing the weeds that attempt to surround you. But because you have trusted in me to tend to your needs, you are being prepared for what is coming, so that you may grow. You can only see what seems good, while I know what's best. Continue to abide in me. Continue to rely in me. And I will continue to abide in you, so that you can be prepared, so that I can be preparing you, so that you may bear fruit. Preparing the soil. Now, if you're watching this, there is one thing that we need to know, and that we need to understand, and that we need to get a grasp on, individually and as a nation. And that is this. We, as a nation, as an individual, we are trying to rely on ourselves instead of God. That is a large root of the problem of what is happening today. We are tempted to rely in ourselves and what we can do, while what we can do is only temporary. It fades. It has no root. But when we are rooted in God, He helps prepare the soil so that way we can grow and be healthy and bear fruit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We need that today. That does not come as a result of relying on ourselves. It does not come as a result of relying on our government, on our politicians, on our teachers. It comes as a result of relying on God and God alone. Because God created everything. He wants to have a relationship with us. And that is another reason why we cannot rely on ourselves. If we want to rely on ourselves, then we are choosing defeat. We are choosing, if we want to rely on ourselves. Actually, no. Let me step back for a second. It's not that if we want to rely on ourselves, because we, by human nature, by our flesh, we are tempted to rely on ourselves. But it's not until we actually rely on ourselves that we are putting our faith and our hope in something temporary, something that is going to fade, something that is going to crumble. We are even relying on ourselves to help others. We are relying on ourselves so that way our government can be good. We are relying on ourselves so that way others' needs can be tended to. We are relying on ourselves so that way our needs can be tended to. Does this sound like you today? Or does it at least sound like familiar to you? And if it does not, thank the Lord. But for many, I feel watching, we are tempted to rely in ourselves and in the people around us rather than God. A seed has been planted. The word has been planted within us. It is being planted within you right now as we speak. But unless we are willing to humble ourselves and acknowledge the need of God, that we need to rely on Him, if we do not do that, we may sprout up, but will die just like that. I'm talking about the parable of the sower. It'll be temporary. But if we are humble enough to acknowledge, Lord, I need you to prepare the soil for what is coming. I cannot do this, but you can. than He and His goodness, because He wants us to grow and bear fruit. He takes out the weeds from around us. He directs us in what we need to do. And He allows us. He allows me. He allows you. He allows us to know His strength and His goodness and His power and His authority to clean the garden, to prepare the soil, to tend to the soil. We cannot rely on ourselves if we are hoping to see the fruits of the Spirit. Because when we rely on ourselves, it does not produce the fruits of the Spirit. Rather, I actually wasn't planning on reading this tonight, but let's go ahead. Let's read it. Now, the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, heresies, envy, murders, and drunkenness, and the like of. But the fruit of the Spirit, I skipped a verse. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. That's Galatians 5. We were created to know God and have a relationship with Him. So that way we are able to have our needs tended to. So that way we can grow. You know, if you think about it, in the beginning, where was humanity first created? Where were we first placed? In a garden. That is where we truly walked with God. But because of our sin, because we were tempted and acted in that temptation, we sinned. And when we sinned, we chose to rely on ourselves, to rely on our flesh. But also in the garden, if you go to Genesis 3:15, God makes His first promise. Do you know what that first promise is? And he's talking to the snake, the serpent, and I will put tension between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Do you know what God is talking about there? He's talking about Jesus, who later did come down to this earth and overcome the grave, so that way we may know God and have a relationship with Him, so that way He can tend to our needs, so that way we can rely on Him. Now, if we go and if we just watch this video and not apply it to our lives, then this is pointless. We need to get down on our knees and humble ourselves before the Lord, saying, Lord, I cannot do this on my own. I need you. Because we do need Him. He is the only way that we can grow, that we can bear fruit, that we can truly know life and have the opportunity to enjoy life the way it was created to be enjoyed. Do you want to live in misery? Do you want to live as if you have no purpose? Do you want to live in your sin? If so, then this video isn't for you. But if you want to be freed, if you want to have a guide with you during your trials, if you want to have the opportunity to have life and to live and know how to live and bear fruit, the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, then look to God. The fruits of the Spirit, they are not something that we can produce on our own. We cannot truly love. We cannot truly be patient. We cannot truly be any of these things on our own. We need God in order to do this. He must be living within us as a result of us living with Him. We must be abiding in Him so He can abide in us. So that way we can bear fruit. If you go to John 15:4, I believe I referenced this very recently. But if you go to John 15:4, this is what it says. Oop, there we go. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. Are you living in a reliance on God? Are you? You are here. You are watching this right now for a reason. If we want our government, if we want our schools, if we want anything to once again look to God as its guide, as its gardener, then we need to humble ourselves individually. We need to have self-governance before we can move on. It starts with me. It starts with you. A spark of revival. A spark that lights an entire campfire. And you know what you do around a campfire? You gather. And that is what we are doing right now. A whole bunch of sparks together, gathering. I'm so happy I can have you on tonight, friend. Actually, I want to share a few more verses with you, and then we'll head out. So I already shared John 15, but I do want to share Isaiah 58. Now, yesterday I shared Isaiah 51, and if this is your first time watching, I want to encourage you, go back and watch that one. But tonight we're reading Isaiah 58, and let's see, if you want to go and flip there with me. Oh, just had it. Don't you love it whenever you have something but then you lose it? Guess you just gotta surrender it. Alright, Isaiah 58:11. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. You shall be like a well-watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. Are you living in a preparation of reliance on God? A nation that relies on God bears the fruit of the Spirit, just as an individual who relies on God does. A nation who relies on God has the fruits of the Spirit of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Doesn't that sound like a nation worth living in? Our founding fathers, they looked to God as their cornerstone in founding this nation. But we are attempting to remove Him and rely on ourselves. No, we're not doing that. We, as a nation, are going to humble ourselves before Him. Not relying on ourselves anymore. Not relying on our currency. Not relying on politicians. Not relying on people who make broken promises, no matter who they are. Not relying on lies and deceitfulness and changing with the current like this. No, we need a steady foundation. And that foundation is a country on its knees, looking to God as its guide. Let's go ahead. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for allowing us, Lord, just to gather together. I pray that this would be a time, Lord, to where we come before you, and we truly realize our need for you and how much we truly need you, and that we would surrender our lives, Lord, in preparation of what is to come to you. So that way we may bear fruit and bear the fruits of the Spirit, Lord. Lord, I want to thank you for this time, for this opportunity. I want to thank you for my friend, for allowing them to join me. And I pray that they would act, and not just let this be something that they watch, but that this would be something that impacts them, Lord. That they would leave right now, walking away, sitting away, whatever it is, Lord, that they would leave with a reliance on you, Lord, if they do not already have it. Lord, I want to pray for our nation, and that it would once again rely on you, that it would abide in you, so that way we can bear fruit. And in your holy name, amen. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching the American Campfire Revival. I want to encourage you, and before you leave, to rely on God. And also just some quick housekeeping. If you want to stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment below if I would love to hear what you have to say if you want to start a conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching. Adios.